As the prophet of esports, I rely on trustworthy and meaningful data every day. Data from our research partner YouGov offers the most complete view of esports fans and gamers in the world, providing context to who they are, what they think, the brands they buy, and things they do. YouGov's connected insights and research services inform strategy at every level. If you're a team, a brand, agency, or rights holder, you should be talking with YouGov. Their partners measure and maximize ROI and are telling compelling stories with data. Visit yougov.com/gaming-esports to learn more. So our next story, guys, this is going to be my tinfoil hat story because I have a theory here. And you guys are going to laugh, but the headline here is Phil Spencer has a Steam Deck and says Xbox games work well on it.
I love
this. The Xbox boss was full of praise for Valve's upcoming console. Let me just read Phil's tweet. He says, was at Valve Software this week, talking with Scott, Eric, Gabe about Steam Deck. After having mine most of the week, I can say it's a really nice device. Games with me on the go, screen size, controls all great. Playing Halo and Age feels good. xCloud works well. Congrats, Steam Deck team. So Phil Spencer, head of Xbox, head of gaming at Microsoft, very big fan of the Steam Deck. It seems many of the Steam Deck reviews, by the way, have been very positive. But I think most interesting is the discussion of Xbox games running perfectly well on this, which I guess shouldn't surprise anyone, right? Because the similarities between Xbox as a platform and Windows as a platform, Microsoft has been slowly doing away with those differences. And Steam being, Windows based for the most part, makes sense that Xbox games could run on this. Here's my question to you guys. This is my tinfoil hat question. So there's the non-tinfoil hat question, which is, what do you guys think of being able to play Xbox games on a Steam Deck, and what does that do for Steam Deck's chances? But the tinfoil hat question is this hinting at Microsoft buying Valve? Do we finally see these two coming together? Because it just, all of a sudden, it makes sense to me, right? They've got a piece of complementary portable hardware, which you could brand Xbox in the long run, right? It's an Xbox portable. You've got big games, hear me out, like CS and Dota, and you've got good IP around that. And Microsoft likes buying publishers. They can afford the price tag, most likely. Is anyone surprised if we see Microsoft buying Steam?
Yeah, Jimmy, I want to react, but Jimmy, why would you be surprised?
I personally don't believe Steam has anything to gain from it.
Well, a big check.
A lot of money, yeah.
But I mean, right now they have the creative freedom, and they could have, to do kind of whatever, and they already have the user base. They're not going to gain a bigger user base. I think maybe they could even hold on for 5 more years and get an even bigger check. You know what I mean? I think maybe further down the line, but at this point in time, I don't feel like it's enticing enough for Steam to want to, unless the check is that much bigger.
I mean, Jimmy raises a really good point. All of the reasons that you outline, I completely agree, are reasons Microsoft would want to buy a Valve, and they make a ton of strategic sense. And I think it would be a brilliant acquisition, right? The question is, would Valve want to be bought? And money is certainly a great reason. But my sense of Valve is it's run like, it's more of a lifestyle company from Gabe. You know what I mean? And it's his vision, and he's what he's doing, and giving up that freedom, I think, would be a challenge. I also just think more broadly, if you are Valve and you're going to sell, right? Let's go real tinfoil hat here. So let's say, you've decided, yep, we're going to go. It's time. Let's cash out. Do you go to Microsoft, which has all the benefits you outlined, or do you go to Amazon? And hear me out, right? Because I think Amazon, bigger check. That's exactly, no, literally, that was actually the first one I was going to make. Bigger check, way more money, right? Potentially way more autonomy, because Amazon just has less background and experience in games. So you would be a bigger piece of that. The Steam marketplace is a way better fit with the Amazon marketplace than it is with, say, the Xbox Live Store, right? Or whatever you buy games on through Xbox, right? And not only that, but if you think about which company likes to do hardware to promote their core offerings, particularly mobile hardware, hello, Kindle, right? I actually think the logical acquire here, as good as Microsoft is, Amazon is a better buyer and would pay more money. So I would be surprised to see a Microsoft acquisition, not because it doesn't make a ton of sense, but because I think an Amazon acquisition makes more sense. And if they're in the market to sell, I think that's where they would go.
Jimmy, B, Jeff, any thoughts on this?
I'm not so sure that Amazon would write the biggest check. I mean, they obviously could write the biggest check, but Amazon, I just did a Google search. I mean, their biggest acquisition ever was 14 billion, which was Whole Foods. Like, I think Valve is going to be worth literally 3 times that probably. So, you know, obviously Amazon can write that check. The question is there someone there with the stomach, with a new CEO? They haven't really bought into games. We've had this debate on the show numerous times about, is Amazon really serious about games? Well, if they buy Valve, then the answer is yes, and I would applaud that. I agree with everything you said, William, but practically speaking, I think there's a better fit with Microsoft, and I think there's a little bit more stomach to do a large acquisition. We've seen them do several large acquisitions in gaming, so we know they are willing to do that. They're already sort of pot committed, if you will.
Can I also make the point that Gabe is 58 years old, okay? And I'm not saying he's like...
He looks like he's 100.
That's not...
And 58.
Meaning that's not old, right? I'm not saying that's old. It's not
that's
old.
young. That's what I meant.
It's young, but like it's also... It's so getting to the point where, older. You know, an acquisition and retirement may be in the cards for him, or maybe something he's looking at. And
so you're saying this is
Phil
a George
Spencer
Lucas moment, right? Like George is, I'm never going to sell Star Wars. I'm never going to sell Star Wars until you get to the point where you start to wonder, what's my legacy? Who takes care of this when I'm no longer here?
Yes, and maybe Phil Spencer is that guy, right? Maybe there's a relationship there, and he's looking at Phil, going, he's the guy that I think can take, you know, what I've built to the next level. I don't know. I'm speculating.
Is there room in the conversation for someone like Apple to try and step in?
For sure, from a like, can they afford it standpoint? No question.
Like,
but it would be.
It makes sense. They have a massive app store, like for Steam and Apple. I mean,
the problem's the hardware, Jeff.
Right, the operating system itself. But do you think
like,
that's something they maybe want to remedy in the future?
I think Apple's entire philosophy is the iPad's probably the ultimate gaming device, right? For their ecosystem, right? You take something like a Steam Deck. From an Apple perspective, that's a really clunky, complicated.
Oh, I assumed Apple. I didn't really equate the Steam Deck with, like, I don't know if Apple would care about the Steam Deck. They might be
right, more so the games.
Well, I think all of the newfound excitement around Valve, frankly, is the Steam Deck, right? I don't think anyone's like all of a sudden excited about Valve because, you know, CS is still around, right? Like, yeah, it's a great piece of IP, no question. But I think a lot of the new hype now is around Steam Deck, and
I mean,
I'm
maybe
surprised, frankly, how good the reviews have been.
And I think that warrants another question too. Why did it take so long to develop a handheld PC system that was semi-decent? Why was Valve the company to release it and not any one of these other massive PC gaming hardware companies? Which it just blows my mind.
I mean, integration with the store, you realize the ecosystem
they have,
makes so
well, they
much
have like you could get like
sense,
big picture mode on your, like, you know, whatever else. Like, it's the same thing, right?
But I also think tech had to catch up, right? You're talking about so much more overhead with PC games. And
the thing that impresses me, if I'm honest about Valve here, is their strategic commitment, right? Like, because they've had a lot of hardware stuff that didn't really work, right? Like, remember when, didn't work, most of it. Remember when Valve launched a home console, guys? Do we all remember that? They had a home console.
Link, I have it.
Yeah. Like, you know, it actually is, to their credit, it shows that they recognize, and again, we don't know how successful this new Steam Deck venture is going to be, right? But to their credit, they recognize that hardware is an important space they want to have a foothold in. And they kept trying to have a foothold in hardware. Good for those guys. You know, I hope this works because it's a good example of strategic deployment over time of capital, right? They think they need it. They keep trying. Doesn't hit. So they have different iterations and different expressions. And if this works, it would be great.
And to my knowledge, the Steam Deck is sold out till like mid next year. So.
Yeah, you can't get one till the second half of next year if you.
We should give one away on the podcast. All right, we're
In a
doing
year
it
from now.
Juice.
The lucky winner. a year
Disclaimer:
from
we are
now.
not doing that.
Christian says Microsoft and Steam, mind blown. There you go. I would bet good money we see this. I have no insider information. I don't know, but I would.
Phil
I would bet
Spencer
good
is sort of
money.
known for this, right? Too, like he kind of likes putting these Easter eggs out there.
Yeah,
But-
like he has no reason to be this complimentary either publicly about Steam Deck, right?
Unless I had a simpler read on this, which is just, every other publisher of, major console manufacturers had a mobile expression, at least at some point in the market, right? Like there's been the PSP and everything that PlayStation's done. There's obviously the Switch right now. I viewed this as more, it doesn't have to be an acquisition, but is this a channel partnership that they want, right? Because you're right. I think it's a simpler thing. I think you'll see a partnership where Microsoft starts to promote this and push the games, and this becomes a hardware solution for them.